While watching Gordon verbally demolish chefs on television can be hilarious, being on the receiving end of Chef Ramsay's harsh commentary must be terrifying. Restaurants can sometimes redeem themselves by serving a dish that Gordon actually enjoys. We can only imagine how satisfying it must be to receive a genuine compliment from the chef, who's known for telling it like it is. For the simple French fry to the intensely complicated beef Wellington, keep watching to see the rare moments Gordon Ramsay was actually impressed by food. Before we begin, like this video and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Number 15. Zeke's like the dessert. In one episode of Kitchen Nightmares, Gordon visited Zeke's. He thought that the boiled shrimp was frozen, soft, difficult to peel, mushy, and unpleasant. The oysters Cortello were terrible, and the giraffe's tongue, chicken fried steak, was bland and flavorless, according to him. However, one dish was his favorite. He thought the bread pudding was delectable. Number 14. The cake at Amy's Baking Company. Gordon Ramsay is impressed by the decor, the cleanliness of the kitchen, and how well organized the kitchen operations appear to be when he first arrives at Amy's Baking Company. He also tries a delicious piece of cake, which gives Gordon a favorable impression of the restaurant. In fact, he wonders how a restaurant with such delicious food and a pleasant atmosphere ended up on a show like Kitchen Nightmares. Number 13. Hot Potato Cafe. Hot Potato Cafe has been plagued by terrible food that can only be described as spuddy hell. Unfortunately, the problem is that the head chef is Danielle, a 21-year-old woman who has no formal culinary training and is only working as a chef out of obligation to her family. Danielle, on the other hand, is able to create a baked potato dish that impresses one of the world's most famous chefs with very little guidance from Chef Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay is so taken with Danielle's recipe that he decides it should be added to the menu at Hot Potato Cafe that very night. Number 12. Blackberry's Red Velvet Cake. Blackberry's is a restaurant that serves a lot of soul food, but seems to have lost its soul. The majority of the food is dry and bland, and one dish even made Gordon physically ill. Having said that, it appears that the staff saved the best for last. Gordon enjoyed the red velvet cake he was served for dessert. Finally, some good food, Gordon exclaims. I couldn't wait until the end. Number 11. The Cafe Han's Crab Cake. The food at Cafe Han doesn't impress Gordon Ramsay. Most of the meals he tries are described as disappointing. Cold, soggy, or downright dreadful. However, the crab cake at the Big Bay Club, which is essentially a tower of seafood, demonstrates that this restaurant is not without merit. The crab cake portion of the sandwich, according to Gordon, was delicious and a pleasant surprise. Even though Gordon's taste test ended there, the crab cake served as a symbol of hope that Cafe Han had the potential to improve. Number 10. Gordon Ramsay cleans his plate. Mama Cherry's Soul Food Shack is a small restaurant serving food from the American Deep South that's struggling to maintain a consistent stream of customers. When Ramsay and the Kitchen Nightmares crew arrive, he orders a meal to begin his assessment of the struggling restaurant. First, he orders catfish gujin with hush puppies and homemade pineapple salsa, which he describes as quite nice, and compliments the delicate nature of the fish. Viewers and the restaurateur are taken aback. He has a plate clumsily piled high with ribs, spicy chicken jambalaya, and corn and bean succotash for the main course. Despite the dish's amateurish appearance, Ramsay says, "This might be the first time I actually go back to the kitchen with an empty plate." And to Charita's delight, that's exactly what he does, telling her it was bloody delicious. Number 9. Gordon Ramsay was a fan of these French fries. During an episode of Masterchef, the difficulty of making such a seemingly simple dish inspired a challenge. Brandy, one of the contestants, found it to be far from difficult. Ramsay notices the perfect color and uniformity of the fries before taking a bite and noting the perfect crunch and seasoning. If he had any doubts about his judgment, he puts them to rest when he calls the fries utter perfection, a response that not many people can get from Ramsay. Number 8. Gordon Ramsay wants the recipe for this carrot cake. From the start of the season of Kitchen Nightmares, Mazzini's, a feeling restaurant in Ridgewood, New Jersey, disappoints. When a very hungry Ramsay is finally served the restaurant's best food, he's met with a parade of the disappointing dish after disappointing dish. When he's finally served dessert, he sees a ray of hope. He praised the carrot cake and even requested for the recipe. Number 7. Gordon Ramsay had a good start with his clam chowder. Ramsay visits Handlebar in Mount Sinai, New York, in an episode of Kitchen Nightmares. First, they serve Ramsay the day soup, clam chowder. He initially hides his reaction and summons one of the owners, Bill. If you've ever seen Kitchen Nightmares, you'll know that when Ramsay calls you over to discuss something he's just eaten, it's almost never a good thing. To everyone's surprise, he has nothing but praise for the dish, calling it nicely seasoned, quite tasty, and perfect for a winter's day. When Bill returns to the head chef with the good news, she's surprised, claiming that she didn't think it was a good batch. Unfortunately for the owners, the clam chowder is the first and only thing Ramsay enjoys in that particular day. Number 6. Rice pudding reminds Gordon Ramsay of home. If you've ever watched Masterchef Junior, you'll know that Ramsay treats the younger contestants much better than the adults of Masterchef. Ramsay summons 12-year-old Jenna to the judges' stand, first in a Season 3 episode to be critiqued. She served a lovely coconut rice pudding with a mango and mint compote. He takes a bite before Jenna can finish describing the dish. He initially hides his reaction to the dish and then laughs at the young girl's obvious anticipation and excitement. He can't stop himself from taking another bite. When he asks her how old she is and she tells him she's only 12, she exclaims OMFG, and the kid's eyes widen in surprise before Ramsay explains that the F stands for food. Number 5. Gordon Ramsay loved their redemption burger. When Ramsay arrives at Burger Kitchen in Los Angeles for an episode of Kitchen Nightmares, he discovers a fractured family, a chef on the verge of bankruptcy and terrible food. The restaurant claims to specialize in burgers, but every burger they send Ramsay's way is a disaster. Ramsay challenges him to make a burger entirely on his own. He demonstrates that he has what it takes to run a kitchen. He serves Ramsay a delicious and beautifully presented smoked Gruyere cheeseburger with grilled tomatoes, spring mix, mustard aioli, and jumbo homemade pickle, a crispy bun, and a perfectly cooked to the medium patty, prompting Ramsay to explain, "That's what I call a burger." Number 4. Gordon Ramsay discovered the perfect sausage roll. Dustin, a prospective MasterChef contestant, decides to make sausage rolls, a traditional British snack but with a spicy Italian sausage instead of the traditional banger sausage. Ramsay is initially skeptical of the dish's extra garnishes, as sausage rolls are typically a very basic type of street food. He watches in horror as Dustin transforms it into a gourmet dish, adding a spicy marinara sauce, Parmesan cheese, parsley, and a just-for-show basil pesto. When he finally tries it, his horror quickly turns to delight, and he ends up leaving none on the plate for the other judges. Number 3. Mastering Gordon Ramsay's signature dish. In one episode of Masterchef Junior's first season, the contestants are challenged to make Ramsay's signature dish, the famous and notoriously difficult-to-make beef Wellington. All of the contestants were paired up for this particularly difficult dish. One pair included 2 incredibly talented young chefs, Troy and Alexander, who had previously produced some impressive dishes. When they bring their beef Wellington up to the judges' stand, Ramsay remarks on how beautiful it looks on the outside, and the boys hope that the inside will be just as good. They watch with bated breath as Ramsay cuts it open, and they are ecstatic to see the perfect red color on the inside. When Ramsay takes a bite, the boys breathe a sigh of relief as Ramsay confirms his delight. Number 2. Gordon Ramsay says bread pudding tastes great despite its appearance. Ramsay visits Zeke's, a struggling restaurant in New Orleans, in a Season 4 episode of Kitchen Nightmares. When Ramsay arrives, he orders a variety of dishes from the menu, including oysters Cortello, a fictitious dish named after the owners. Except for the bread pudding, he despises everything he's been served. It appears to be a sloppy mess, and Ramsay believes it'll be a letdown. But he's mistaken. It doesn't look fantastic, but it tastes delicious, he says. Number 1. The good and crunchy apple pie. As part of a pressure test in one episode of MasterChef, the contestants are asked to bake apple pies. Christine Ha, the show's first and only blind chef, is the final judge. In addition to being under intense stress, the young cook is unable to see how her pie turns out, which only adds to her anxiety. When she brings it to Ramsay, she assumes it's a pile of rubbish. However, she's overjoyed to hear from Ramsay that it looks stunning with a crisp dark brown edge and a beautiful glaze across the top. When he finally takes a bite, he's blown away by the flavor and texture. And that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching. Do let us know your thoughts in this video in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, then do like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more such exciting content. See you in the next one. See you in